How's Brad commenting on this? What? Hello. It's been a minute. We're gonna do an art stream now. All right. So this time I'm still working on city builder stuff. There's a lot to it. It's a very big project. On this new city builder chapter header art. This one is chapter 3. This one is, in fact, a lizard. There's going to be a lizard folk in it, Bryce. You should be happy. But yeah, so it's actually a coliseum, or rather a hippodrome type image. So it's a racetrack. That's why it's a hippodrome. And you've got a bunch of fantasy races that are going to be riding different creatures. But the stipulation, the one guiding bit of art direction that I was given for this assignment was that there would be no horses. No horses allowed. So it's going to be all sorts of different weird creatures. And our, whoops, that's my camera. And our adventuring party is going to be watching from the stands, because that was another thing with this, is that the adventuring party was reappeared through all the different chapter header art to kind of tie them all together. Needs to be more hippos in the hippodrome. I don't think hippos make very good racers unless it's a water race, in which case I would have to totally rework this image. And now, of course, that I've said that, my boss is going to watch this and be like, oh, that's a great idea. You should have done that. But anyway, yep, so that's the image I'm going to be working with. I have my perspective grid already laid out, because laying a perspective grid is tedious and you don't want to watch it. And it also takes up more space than I have for the frame of this camera, unless I move it back really, really far. So I have my thumbnail image off to the side where I've more or less worked out what I want this to look like. Not that things always work out exactly that way, because you kind of have to, sometimes when you actually put things at size, you realize that they don't work as well as you thought. So now I have to start getting some of these elements in here. So we've got, whoops, I'll try to stay in frame. I'm a little out of practice. No, they're on chariots racing against other hippos, going around the arena trying to collect marbles. Of course they are. So this is taking place right at one of the curves. So this may need to be, I may need to tweak this slightly, but the basic, I want it up a little more like that. Get the basic curve over the wall there. I like that second curve a little better. Resolve this section here. Try to get that upper one to match it a little better. There's like the top edge of the wall there where people are going to be hanging out. That needs to be a little bit closer. And then up top, we've got just the top little edge of the wall up there. Which helps give us now all of a sudden it actually looks like, oh yeah, you're in a hippodrome. You're in a big open curving space. Just knocking in some of the more structural details here. We're going to have one of the little stair risers here. Another one of the stair risers here. Not that I'm going to be really using this grid an awful lot. It's just kind of there to ground me and give me something to kind of refer to of like, okay, well, why does this curve look like it's working or not working? So, and oh, a new person. Hello, Russell. Says follows me on Twitter and thought he'd pop in and say hi. Oh, hi. I appreciate that. I'm glad to see new faces. I haven't done an art stream in quite a while because this fall was really freaking crazy. I had like an event or something every weekend for like 2 months. And I usually I had been doing these on Saturday nights. So it was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing an art stream for a long time now. I start knocking in this front creature, which is going to be kind of like a raptor, because this most centrally located figure here is going to be a lizard folk rider on a raptor type dinosaur. Because that's fun. It's way more fun than like an elf with a horse. So it's like it's fantasy. Why would you not make it as completely crazy as you possibly could? Isn't that more fun? All right, so there's his 1 foot forward. I might need to adjust this gesture a little bit. Other foot back. I think I need to move his head. I think his head is in the right spot to make it look like. So I do want him kind of turn to the side because he's going to be kind of snapping at his opponent, but he still needs to look like he's leaning forward. His little arms up front. Big old tail whipped out there. Lizard on lizard action. Dinosaurs are birds, Bryce. It's not lizard on lizard action. It's lizard on bird action. So take that. All right. And usually with most figures, I like to start with the head. When I have a figure riding a creature, I actually start with the pelvis to make sure that the whole thing will fit and be proportional. Because otherwise I put my head like way up here and then it doesn't fit, or way down here and then it doesn't fit, and then I'm sad and frustrated. So I'll start with a lot of times I'll start with the pelvis on whatever the creature that's riding is, so that I make sure I actually get it to fit. Although I think that head needs to move too. So he's also kind of looking at their opponents, and he has kind of a long neck because he's a lizard folk. All right, it's kind of just a scribbly shape where that's going to be. And the one that they are having a little confrontation with right in front here is going to be a dwarf riding a ram. There's the ram's head, more or less. So everything's just kind of getting blocked in right now, so it's not really going to I'm just kind of trying to find the basic placement for everything and get some basic gestures in. They're not going to stay exactly like this. There's ram bounding on forward. stout dwarven rider going, what do you think you're doing? I didn't even put the legs on this lizard folk. Whoops. Okay. All right, so I have my two central figures here, but there's more. There's more that needs to come. Fix that a little bit. There's like 6 lines going on there instead of 1. All right, and in the back, I wanted to have in the back rank a couple more. Couple more figures a little ways behind. It's going to have a wolf. See, now you can't start with the head. It always ends up wrong. Wolf with a goblin rider, which, yeah, is a little bit more predictable, but it's still fun. And just eking ahead of them, is a halfling riding a pig. Because I don't know why, that's what came into my head, and I thought it was amusing. That's going to need a little work. It's a little lumpy at this point. We'll fix it. We'll get around to it. I know it's going to exist in that general area, but I need to fix it. First, I'm going to take a sip of tea. All right, the other major thing I need to make sure I put in is my adventuring party watching from the stands. Cheering on their favorite teams. It's a human, a gnome, to move over. An elf. The elf is going to be distractedly munching on a snack. And a dwarf. Because I just have to, for whatever reason, have the elf just not really care. The elf is a rogue. I think she just doesn't, should find the races boring. They just run in a circle. What's the point? Dinosaur means terror lizard. Oh gosh, Bryce. Dinosaur means terror lizard, and they are all reptiles, but that's not as important as a halfling and human having a baby. Is that a 3/4ling or a quarter? Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't feel qualified to answer this question. And dinosaurs are birds. They're not actually reptiles. So take that. There's been some updates in dinosaur science since you were in elementary school, Bryce. I'm not going to say how long ago that was, but there's been some updates since then. All right. There's other people in the stands watching. I'm not going to draw all of them right now. I'm just going to kind of put blobs for all of them. Yay, crowd. I think some of this crowd needs to be a little bit smaller. So actually, these guys are probably going to have to be a little bit smaller too. Small crowd faces. Okay. All right. So I have the basics of how this is gonna go. A couple of guidelines for the rest of my crowd here for when I fill them all in. Okay. So I have the basic lay of the land of the hippodrome. I have my racers. Those guys are clearly way too big for how far back they are now, but that's okay. I can erase them and try again. And my party, which is an important element for the assignment, because the thing with City Builder, it's a bunch of different places, and all my chapter header images are showing the same RPG party showing up in one of those types of places for the chapter header. So even though it's a bunch of different places that don't necessarily have much to do with each other, it gives a kind of sense of continuity to have the same group of people showing up as if it's your adventuring party, encountering all these different places. So they're there, and the big showdown between the lizard folk on a dinosaur and the dwarf on a ram is going on up front. So got all the basics in. I'm going to open up on my computer just out of frame. I'm going to open up a picture that I did of a lizard folk riding a dinosaur for the same company a couple years ago, so that it looks like the right type of lizard folk and dinosaur. And I don't just make up something completely different by accident. So I have that reference up where I can look at it. And now I will try to start tightening up this lizard folk and dinosaur raptor type thing. head shape's a little funny. All right. I kind of want to put more of a curve to his whole body there. So we're going to kind of push so you can see more of the side of it. Like he's really leaning into this turn. Kind of push his rib cage over here. Pelvis back here some. And here's his big goofy face. Which actually that's not the shape his head needs to have. Have kind of a wedgy shaped head. All right. Pushed his ribs and his pelvis over, so now his leg will be out here more. Yeah, I'm already liking that better. And his little toesies. There we go. And his shoulders are like down here. Elbows. Angry little hand. Another angry little hand we'll put up here. There we go. That's better. I like that better. Where's his other leg? I don't know. Somewhere back here. Too, I can make his tail. No, I don't want to make a tangent with the wall. Whoops, sorry. Glare. Yeah, so I started to draw an arc of the tail, but it lined right up with the curve of the wall, which makes a tangent, which is bad because you don't want two things that aren't supposed to line up to just happen to line up perfectly, because then they look like they're supposed to, and that's confusing. That's what you call a tangent. So I'm gonna make his tail whip out like that more, so that it interrupts the curve of the wall and does its own thing and it's not a tangent. That's much better. The other leg is back here somewhere. It's there. It's fine. It's blocked by his body mostly. I might try to figure out where it is after I figure out the rest of it. So now that we've moved him, we kind of need to adjust the rider a little bit. Now there's his back, neck. So the rider's going to be, pelvis is going to be down here. Well, he doesn't have to adjust too much, thankfully. There's his rib cage, shoulders. He also has kind of a weird wedge-shaped head. And a long neck, because he's a lizard. This one leg is right here. His other leg is on the other side of the dinosaur. He's got one hand right close, like he's doing a hard turn with the reins. So his elbow for that one's back here. You're not going to really see it. Oh, and he has a tail because he's a lizard folk. So where's his tail going to go? There's too many tails. There's too many tails in this drawing. I don't know where everybody's tail is supposed to be. Right. Should his tail also be kind of whipped around like that, maybe? So he doesn't look like he's fighting. I'm afraid if I put his tail out this way, it'll look like he's going to fall off his... Yeah, that really interrupts the flow. That's not right. His tail is just back here somewhere. That'll probably also mostly be blocked by everything else. All right, let's make this dinosaur face. Get to some of the fun stuff now that I've scribbled around for like half an hour trying to put these things where they belong. All right, here's big domey head. I forget what dinosaur I looked at to base this off of. It was probably like an Ultraraptor or something. I'm never going to be an amazing paleo artist, but you can make a fun fantasy dinosaur. I actually know a few really great paleo artists, but I am not one of them. If you would like some paleo artist recommendations, you should check out my buddy Andrew Sides that I went to college with. He does paleo art that's pretty fantastic, among many other things. Everything Sides does is fantastic, and I kind of hate him. And I don't actually hate him. I hate him in that, I'm like, you're so good, you make me sick way. I really love him. I think he's great. But you should check him out, Andrew Sides. He does all sorts of cool stuff. And including making models and paintings of dinosaurs, like 3D models and paintings of dinosaurs that are all awesome. You should check out Sean Clausen. You should be able to find any of these guys on Twitter or anything. He does paleo art, which is also amazing. And Sean's actually local. He lives near me in Maine. He's a cool guy. I see him at conventions and other comic events around the state sometime. I just saw him recently at Portland Comic Expo. And I had a professor in college who was also really incredible paleoartist among doing a million other things really ridiculously well. I'm not. I don't think he does the social medias though. That was my professor Paul Hudson, which if anyone ever had the pleasure of learning from Paul knows that he was amazing. And he was just kind of just getting into doing like models of dinosaurs and stuff around the time that I had him as a professor. Because, he had only like worked for NASA and Disney and the FBI before that, so whatever. Yeah, sure, I'll learn how to sculpt dinosaurs too while I'm at it. Why not? Also, no pressure. That's the person you're learning from who's so incredibly incredible, and you just feel ridiculously sad and inadequate when you show up to class and you're like, I drew my thing. And it's like, oh, good job. I'm like, oh, you don't mean it. It's an angry dinosaur face. I drew that little line because he has a little row of spike. Oh my, pencil's getting awful. So, 1 second. Oh, and then I broke it. And then it stuck a pencil sharpener. Oh my gosh. Fail it up on camera, Amanda. Come on. It's right jammed in there. There we go. Why is my connection unstable? No, connection, don't be unstable. That's the thing. If I were smart or an actual, like, fancy and polished YouTube creator, I'd have like a dozen of these things sharpened and go off camera so that I could just casually reach off camera and grab a fresh one instead of having to futz around with my pencil sharpener for 30 seconds in the middle of the screen. But that wouldn't be authentic now, would it? My angry dinosaur face. He's so angry. I love it. All right, there's that center line where those spikes are going to go. There's some dinosaur neck muscles, question mark. All right, we need one that goes from back here to here. There's one. All right, trying to make slightly more realistic dinosaur neck muscles. It's just a bunch of weird random lines. Clearly, I'm up on my to see dinosaur anatomy as some people. Little row of spines going down his back. Wow. I get to make his angry little hands. How many claws? His somewhat long and scary claws. All right, erase some of this guide stuff underneath here. Writing Diana's pectoral muscles here. Raw. He's been now. His right going to be blocking a lot of what else is going on. I forget. There's a particular type of lizard I based my lizard folk off of. And I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. More or less the shape of his head. Oh, what's going on? Come on, cooperate. There we go. All right. So what is he going to be wearing? Is it chariot racer? Or just a racer, technically. There's no chariot here. He's just racing. I feel like I should have him like he's shouting at his opponent too. Get that shoulder up for a nice dramatic pose. Let's see. I think he's going to be wearing some kind of chest piece in the traditional lizard man style, which is, bark. But maybe instead of the traditional just lizard man bark armor for the bottom, since this is just a competition. He'll be wearing some kind of jockey pants looking type thing. Some kind of puffy pants. With room for his tail, of course. Of course. You gotta leave room for the tail. Now I need to sharpen my pencil again. And lizard folk do apparently have 4 fingers and a thumb. One, 2, 3, 4. Thumb. And his shoulder. And oh, that means I have to put the tack on the dinosaur. I think I only ever had it as a rope halter that only went around the upper jaw. So it's like it's about as much control as you're going to get out of the dinosaur. Good luck with anything more than that. All right. So there's his knee. His lower leg is kind of back. Or rather, it should just be, based on the way that I have this working and the rest of this, it should kind of just be down. So that it's not running into the... There's his foot. Kind of like inside. Not sure how well that really works. I might need to change that a little bit. That looks kind of goofy. we'll have it kind of tucked back instead. Presumably there would be differences in how you would ride your dinosaur if you are racing versus if you are going into battle, which is what my reference image is from. Or maybe it's just not really possible to ride a dinosaur, and I'm making this up. There is a teensy weensy spider climbing around on my page right now. This little guy just came out of nowhere and started walking across my desk. Go on. Go, 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 go. I don't want to accidentally squish you. Alright. Back to this dinosaur. So let's see, what time is it? Oh, it's 9:50 already. My goodness. There's his little dinosaur toes. Dinosaur running. Oh, he needs his other angry little hand over here. Little spider. Little spider. What are you doing? This is not where you need to be. So let's see. In the last couple of minutes while I'm still working away here, I'm going to talk about some other things that you should go and check out and follow and all of that fun stuff. This is, once more, a project for an illustration for a project, which is the re-release of City Builder from Skirmisher Publishing. It's the Platinum Edition. They kickstarted this fall, which City Builder is a resource for primarily geared toward tabletop gaming, but it works really well for anyone who wants to create anything where you're going to have like a medieval or fantasy cities, of like what types of things do you find in cities, what types of businesses or community places or whatever, and them into your story. What are things you need to consider when you're incorporating them into your story? It's a really useful resource for pretty much anyone who wants to create stories in that kind of setting, whether that be gamers or writers or anything else. So that's really cool. It was a product they'd had for many, many years, but Skirmisher has grown so much as a company and their production is so much better now that they made a fancy platinum edition, or rather we are currently making a fancy re-release of it in the platinum edition. And part of that is that I have all these fun new chapter header images that'll go at the beginning of each chapter. I really want to put his other leg in somewhere, but I'm really not sure where it's going to go. His other hip should be like here. So maybe his other foot can be kind of like here. Not sure if that's confusing. We're going to go for it. That seems about right. Yeah, so definitely check that out. That's from Skirmisher Publishing. They're on DriveThruRPG. They're updating about it all the time on their Twitter and everything else too. They're pretty easy to find. So that's what this is for, and that's definitely a project that's worth checking out. It should be released in the next couple of months or so. Basically, whenever I finish all of these. I think they're primarily waiting for me at this point. I'm trying as fast as I can. And if you'd like to see more of me, you can subscribe to this channel, because then YouTube will tell you, hey, Amanda's drawing some more, come watch her. You can find me on Twitter at Age of Night. You can find me on Instagram at AmandaCallArt. That's just my name with the word art after it. You can follow my webcomic, ageofnight.com. And that's my fantasy webcomic, updates once a week, where I draw fantasy things that are not riding dinosaurs, but other cool fantasy things. Probably not as cool as lizard folk riding dinosaurs. This is pretty cool. I have a Patreon, and on my Patreon, you can get webcomics early. You can get behind-the-scenes stuff, other cool benefits depending on what else I'm working on, and it helps to support me, which I greatly appreciate. So that you can check out as well, patreon.com/ageofnight. That is something you should also do if you can. I think that's all the things I have to plug. I think that's all my mandatory self-promotion for this. I probably forgot something, but I think that was it. All right. Tightening up some of the details on this lizard folk rider here. And I'm almost done for the evening. It is just about 10 o'clock. I usually only do this for about an hour because I don't want the videos to be too long and tedious. Just long enough for you to enjoy watching me draw for a while and throw my pencil around. And also, it's good to get up and stretch and take a break. It's not good to sit still for too long without getting up and stretching. So keep it to an hour so that I don't end up sitting here for 3 hours not moving, and then my legs fall asleep and I go to stand up and I'm like, I forgot how standing up works. And thank you everyone for watching from me and my wee spider friend who is still crawling across my page. You want to crawl on my pencil? Do that? No? Okay. Thank everyone who decided to hang out and watch and leave comments. I love it. Fun. And that's probably going to do it. for this week. I started with just a perspective grid on a page, and now I have the basics of this whole illustration laid out, and have gotten pretty far on tightening up my lizard folk and dinosaur. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you all sometime soon. Bye.